focus in me. It focus in the sink. Focus. It focus. Focus. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on.
When did I realize DJing was a business? When I made my first paycheck from it. Yeah. Oh, and even more so when I had to submit my first W-9. That's when it really feels like a business.
For episode 2, we took What is a DJ on the road. My team and I traveled from the Bay Area to Los Angeles for Club Real Ones, a day party hosted by DJ Icy Ice at the legendary Delicious Pizza. While the music brought everyone together, the conversations revealed something deeper. At this point, every DJ faces the same question. Can this become more than a hobby? Can this become a business? From first gigs to building brands, creating products, and making a living in the industry, we wanted to learn what separates DJs who last from the DJs who don't. This is What is a DJ, episode 2.
When I realized DJing was a business, probably when I was in college. I started DJing for the Greek system at my college, and I'm starting to get these checks. So I was like, oh, these checks are a little different than just the little parties I was doing. So I had a friend that was also a DJ, and he really hit me to how I can grow as a DJ, started me in my first club. And from there, the business just took off. So it really started at college at the Greek system.
I realized that DJing was a business back because my pops was the first one to pull me aside and said, are you making some money off of this? I'm like, no, we're just doing this for fun. Then my pops kind of schooled me, and he's like, well, you know, you charge and this and that. And then of course, you know, as I talk to other DJs, yeah, they get paid for their services, you know, like, so I was part of a crew, Legend Entertainment, and that crew, like, there was like 15, 20 of us, and we'd go roll out to do a gig together, and by the time we split $150 or whatever, that's only McDonald's pretty much for all of us. But then, you know, the business part of it, we got hip to it, started charging a little bit more, our equipment setups got a little bit better. Before you know it, we had like Bay Area DJ type setups and stuff, and we were charging accordingly. But yes, it was early on, my teenage years, that Pops pulled me aside and said this was a business.
Oh, I think I realized DJing was a business around maybe in my 20s, to be honest. Like, I'd say maybe like 2021. I got the opportunity to go on tour for the first time, and up until then it was just basically a hobby. But my first time actually touring was Common's Like Water for Chocolate tour in Europe, and being around, you know, high-level talent, you understand that these people are taking this serious, and it's actually a business and not as much of a hobby as I thought it was up until that point.
Wow, when did I realize DJing was a business? When I actually started booking weddings, and I was getting financial gain from it.
Oh, that's kind of a tough one, because when I started off, it was just a passion. You know, I didn't think about making the money. It was before high school when I really wanted to become a DJ. And then in high school, I started my own crew and did a lot of high school dances, a lot of house parties, things like that. And it wasn't really about making money. You know, and for a long time, it was like that too. You know, we would make our money, but back then, you know, you didn't make too much. It didn't mean too much. So probably wasn't until I joined Spintronics when things were structured to a point where we could make money. But even then, some of those gigs that we did, we still did some of the high school dances. We did some of those gigs. And at the end of the day, we'd split up the money. It wasn't really much. Went back into the company. And we got pizza. You know, so back in those days, it was a little bit of that. But I'd say when I started to get into doing more weddings and stuff, corporate events in the late 90s, that's when more money started coming in. You're like, oh, okay, I can actually make a living off of this.
I realized DJing could be a business when I had a chance to be a mobile DJ for Bill McLaughlin in Alameda. And even though I was carrying around his records and carrying around his speakers and everything like that, he was getting paid from it, and so was I as his roadie. And I'm like, okay. And I loved music, and so it just made sense to just put the two together. And I wasn't very good at football, so I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and just start DJing because I love that.
Everyone starts with the love of music, but turning that love into a lasting career takes something more. As our conversations continued at Club Real Ones in Los Angeles, we wanted to know what makes a DJ successful and what keeps others from reaching their full potential.
Successful DJs are people that are working. Unsuccessful are people that are not working. End of story.
I think really it is the way you carry yourself, your attitude, your behavior. You know, there's a lot of DJs that are super, super talented, but off the stage, they're not good.
I think success is subjective, but I think for me, success is how you connect with an audience. And for me, I think what separates people who are successful from those who aren't are people who actually go out and see what's going on, and as far as DJing is concerned in the community, and also understanding what works versus what doesn't work, and applying that game, you know, to their own sets.
What I think separates successful DJs from unsuccessful DJs is that, what I just said, is networking. Like, you literally need to go out, you need to support different parties and make yourself known and make yourself like supportive. I feel like that's how parties, and especially DJ parties, stay successful, is with the support of the community.
Success is kind of in the eye of the beholder. So it's like what you consider success. So that's kind of that's a loaded question. It's kind of a hard one to answer. But I think if, you know, we're speaking in terms of what I consider success, which is fulfillment and happiness in what you do, really caring what anyone else thinks. You know, just stick to your guns, you know, like you have your own individual taste for a reason. So like really, really milk that shit. Like have that dictate all your decisions in this field. You know what I mean?
What separates successful DJs and unsuccessful DJs is a combination of, number one, their talent, number two, them as a person. So if you're a bad person and you're an asshole and, you know, like you treat people wrongly, then you're not gonna make it far in this business. So success as a DJ is being a good person first of all, and then of course how much work you put into developing your skills and continually getting better and better and better.
You got to define what you consider success, but ultimately I think it comes down to work ethic. You know, if it's something that you want, you put in the work.
That is such an easy one. An unsuccessful DJ DJs for himself. A successful DJ DJs for the crowd.
The successful DJ practices day and night and really trains very hard for it. And they're driven by passion of the music, and they're on a mission. If you're not being successful, that means you're not working hard enough as a DJ. So you have to really dive in on that. It's very, very important to stay focused and really know your mission of a communicator of music. And you'll see how it makes people happy, then you're doing your job and you become successful from that point.
DJing isn't the only path in the music industry. Some DJs become entrepreneurs and create businesses that help move the culture forward. As JetPack Bags celebrates its 15th anniversary, we sat down with co-founder DJ Stress to discuss entrepreneurship, building a brand, and the lessons he's learned along the way.
I still feel like to this day, DJing is still a passion. So there's a part of me that don't necessarily feel like it's purely a business. But at the end of the day, as a DJ, when you are doing your thing, when you are coming up, it's, you know, typically a young man's game, right? And there's a point in your life when you wonder what's happening next. And, you know, there was a part of my life when I recognized what is next and what did the DJ culture need. And that probably led me to my next venture, which was, creating backpacks with JetPack Bags. 15 years ago is actually the start of when we actually went on sale. But the impetus, the spark that created JetPack happened before we went on sale, right? It takes a couple of years to build a business. And, luckily, this wasn't a situation where we're like, oh yeah, how can we make money? Let's find a thing. No, we were DJs, and we were DJs working. And, I actually happened to be a DJ that was not only working, but in the retail space, selling equipment, selling gear. I sold what was called DJ backpacks, knowing this was bullshit. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it was a combination of having very little faith in the future of what the products we saw that was available for DJs and realizing that there needed to be something better. It was also, a part of the fact that like these companies don't understand that technology is moving fast, and that like with the digitalization, with Serato, with other things, like what is quote unquote a DJ bag is changing rapidly. And then the other part of it is also like, as we were DJs that were like in the workforce, realizing, hey, what's next for us? Because I'm not going to be, at the time we were like, am I going to be making hands go up at age 50 or whatever? Now we realize the culture has changed and it is more possible. But at the time we didn't know that. So we're looking at the next phase of our career. And so a combination of all that led us to just take a leap of faith and say, hey, I think there's a need for a well-made, a functional, a DJ backpack that speaks to the people. And we felt like, we're not a big company right off the jump, right? We're just nobodies starting. But if we speak the language of DJs as DJs, and we design and we, create features and that we market, and all this stuff is done within the vocabulary and the language of DJs, saying, hey, these are going to recognize that we are one of you. We're not one of these outsiders coming in to say, hey, whatever. Like, we're one of you. Like, how can we make your life better? That's going to, that there's a chance. And luckily, the chance did happen. And we are here 15 years later, and that we are continuing to do what we initially intended to do, which was make DJs' lives easier, enhance their experience, make them more organized, and to create products that will better the culture that we love. So 15 years later, that's where we're at, and it's a blessing.
From discovering that DJing could be a business to learning what separates successful DJs from unsuccessful ones, and hearing firsthand from DJ Stress about building JetPack Bags into a respected brand, one theme stood out throughout our trip to Los Angeles. Success doesn't happen by accident. Whether behind the decks or behind the business, it takes a vision, consistency, and a commitment to the craft. Thanks for joining us on episode 2 of What is a DJ? We'll see you on the next stop as we continue exploring the people, stories, and culture that makes up the DJ community.
The Addicted to Vinyl unisex tee is more than a shirt. It's a commitment to the culture. Created by Derek B. of Sick Mix, this collab with Beats for Hope reps the magazine for DJs by DJs and celebrates the people who keep real music alive. If you love the craft, the grind, and the history, this is how you show it.
Every purchase supports the Sharkey's Family nonprofit, and they feed people during the holidays in Vallejo, California. Rep the roots, support the culture, give back with purpose.
Available now at beatsforhope.org.